dated 20th of February. The year is 2024. Remember, this live broadcast is brought to you by the national broadcaster KBC in collaboration with the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit. My name is Gladys Mungai, and allow me to take you through the highlights in the order of business this afternoon before the House officially commences business at 2:30. The Affordable Housing Bill, National Assembly Bills number 75 of the year 2023, is a bill that members of the National Assembly will be resuming debate on this afternoon. The debate on this key bill already commenced, and we expect resumption of this debate that was interrupted on Thursday, on the 15th of February 2024. Remember, the Affordable Housing Bill is a bill that has elicited reactions among members of Parliament across the political divide. The report of the National Dialogue Committee is a motion lined up for debate this afternoon. This motion is by the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party. This motion seeks to have the House adopt the report of the National Dialogue Committee that was laid on the table of the House on the 7th of December, on a Thursday, last year, December 2023. This afternoon, we expect members of Parliament to give their insights in regards to the proposals in the report by the National Dialogue Committee. Another motion lined up for debate this afternoon is a motion by the Chairperson, Public Accounts Committee. This motion pertains the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements for the national government ministries, departments, as well as agencies for the financial year 2020 and 2021. And in this motion, the Public Accounts Committee, through its chairperson, seeks to have the House adopt the report of the Public Accounts Committee on its examination of the report of the Auditor General. This report is in regards to the financial statements for the national government ministries, departments, as well as agencies. And this report by the Auditor General is a report dated 2020-2021 and was tabled on the floor of the House on the 30th of November 2023. Equally, this afternoon, we expect members of the National Assembly to resume debate on the Statute Laws Miscellaneous Amendment Bill. This is Bill number 2 of the Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendments Bill number 2 of the year 2023, and this is National Assembly Bills number 68 of the year 2023. This particular bill is by the leader of the majority party. The National Disaster Risk Management Bill, National Assembly Bills number 24 of the year 2023, is another bill lined up for debate this afternoon. The Member of Parliament for Kigumo constituency, Honorable James Munyoro, will be seeking a statement, and this is pursuant to Standing Orders number 44, subsection 2C. This statement and the request of this particular statement regards the exploitative lending practices for border operations in the country. And this request for this particular issue of exploitative lending practices for members of the border sector will be handled by the Departmental Committee on Matters Finance and National Planning. Other than that, a particular statement looking into what the Member of Parliament will be seeking to have it addressed, the exploitative nature of lending monies to sponsor the buying of motorbikes, popularly known as border borders. Let's now have a look at other issues or agenda before the National Assembly this afternoon. And among the business is the Employment Amendment Bill. This is a bill originating from the Senate, Bill number 11 of the year 2022 by the Chairperson Departmental Committee on Matters Labor. This particular bill is at the second stage, the Employment Amendment Bill, Bill number 11 of the year 2022. And we expect members of the National Assembly this afternoon to contribute to this bill and make their observation as well as offer their insightful comments in regards to various amendments proposed in the amendment bill. The Natural Resources Benefit Sharing Bill, another bill from the Senate, Bill number 6 of the year 2022, is equally another bill that members of the National Assembly will be debating this afternoon. This particular bill is by the Chairperson Departmental Committee on Matters Environment, Forestry and Mining. If you're just joining us, the business of the National Assembly is just about to kick off. The Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Moses Wetangula, is in the chambers this afternoon, ready to preside over the business. Allow me to hand you over for this live proceedings brought to you by the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit in collaboration with the national broadcaster KBC. Enjoy your viewing and good afternoon.
Waheshimiwa, tuombe. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu ambaye kwa hekima na wema wako umeteua nyadhifa za viongozi na mabunge kwa ustawi wa jamii na utawala wa haki wa wanadamu, tukusihi utazame kwa neema nyingi sisi watumishi wako ambao wameridhika kutuita ili tutekeleze shughuli muhimu za jamhuri yetu. Tukuomba uteremshie baraka zako sisi tuliokutanika hapa, na utujalie tuyatende na kufikiria mambo yote yatakayofikisha mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili utukufu na sifa zako ziendelezwe, na ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu na wale ambao haja zao umezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen. Members, you must keep this spirit to the end of this term. Very impressive. Congratulations to yourselves and to your leadership. We have quorum to transact business. Clerk.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, February 2024. Legal notice number 221 of 2023 relating to the revision of Laws Order 2023 and the explanatory memorandum from the Office of the Attorney General. Number 2, response by the Auditor General on discrepancy in application of audited and approval revenue for financial year 2019-2020. 3, the quarterly economic and budgetary review reports for the financial year 2023-2024 from the National Treasury. 4, first quarter national government and county government budget implementation review reports for the year 2023-2024 from the Office of the Controller of Budget. Number 5, annual report and financial statement of Kenya Electricity Generating Company PLC for the period ended 30th June 2023 from the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum. Number 6, the annual corporate report for 2022-2023 for the Office of the Auditor General. 7, special audit report of the Auditor General on infrastructure projects and programs at the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Sports, and the Arts for the 10 years 2013 to 2023. Mr. Speaker, I lay.
Thank you. Next. Is the chairman budget here? Or a member of the budget committee? Or a member of the mediation committee? Yes, Mwashako? Are you a member of the mediation committee? On budget committee? Yes, there is a report to be laid by your committee. Okay, when your chairman comes, we will allow him to do so at whatever stage. Okay. Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Chairperson, Select Committee on Parliamentary Broadcasting and Library. Puyo, you are the chair. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion. That this House adopts the report of the Select Committee on Parliamentary Broadcasting and Library on enhancing reporting of parliamentary business on online platforms laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, on Tuesday, 20th, on Wednesday, 4th October 2023. Chairman, I don't know whether Speaker, I don't know whether I'm reading the right notice. I hope that is the one. That is what I have.
Next. Member for Dagoretti South. KJ. Matter deferred. Member for Mandera South. Abdul Haro.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to give notice of the following motion. That aware that the Constitution recognizes the people's respect for the environment as the country's heritage and the commitment to sustaining the environment for future generations. Further, further aware that the cyclic drought in the country has caused devastating effects and serious disruption to the economy. Recognizing that climate change is a global problem with developing countries being the most affected, as these regions are dependent on climate-sensitive sectors such as agriculture and forestry. Further, recognizing that the severe effects of climate change are already being experienced in the form of frequent droughts, flooding, and other extreme weather occurrences. Concerned that the current climate change monitoring mechanisms in the country are based on the traditional methods which rely on ground observations and climate models which have limitations in terms of accuracy, timeliness, and spatial coverage. Noting that the country recently launched its first operational satellite to collect and transmit high-quality data further noting that this technology can help in accurately monitoring and forecasting climatic and weather patterns, cognizant of the fact that other jurisdictions have made use of this technology to monitor climate change with marked positive impacts, appreciating that the use of technology, especially satellite technology, would allow enhanced monitoring that can have significant impact on sustainable environmental management, further appreciating that this technology would be useful in monitoring difficult to reach, expansive, and unsafe areas. Now, therefore, this House resolves that the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change, and Forestry develops a policy on IT that deploys the use of satellites in the monitoring and forecasting of climatic conditions with the objective of ensuring timely and accurate data collection to enhance the country's capacity to respond to weather-related risks and vulnerabilities, including climate change. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Harrell. I'll go back to member for Dagoret South, Honorable John Kiarie.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for accommodating me. I'm shuttling between this House and a parliamentary committee, which I'm sharing on the BPS matters. And Mr. Speaker, I would like to beg to give notice of a motion, and this motion is the establishment of a science museum. Mr. Speaker, that aware that Article 11(2)(b) of the Constitution provides that the government shall recognize the role of science and indigenous technologies in the development of the nation, and further aware that the Vision 2030 provides for the integration of information, communication, and technology in the country's transformative agenda, and concerned that there exists no science museum for consolidating indigenous scientific and technological innovations, training, and research purposes in the East African region, appreciating that the integration of science and technology would greatly enhance Kenya's economic and societal success, noting that there is potential for growth in the technology sector by establishing a science museum, that there is potential for growth in the technology sector by establishing a science museum, and further noting that the informal science education plays a key role in the progression of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, which is commonly known as STEM, acknowledging that the science museums operate as the nexus between science practitioners, policymakers, and the public, cognizant of the fact that a science museum in the country would greatly impact on the economy of the country in the quest to become an industrialized nation. Now, therefore, this House resolves that the national government, through the relevant ministries, establishes and operationalizes a science museum in the country. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, KJ. Next, Chairperson, Mediation Committee, Dean Dinyoro. He's not here yet. Mashako. I thought Honorable Mashako. Okay, it's fine. Next, Chairperson, Public Investments Committee on Social Services, Administration and Agriculture. Honorable Wangwe.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that this House adopts the report of the Public Investments Committee on Social Services, Administration and Agriculture on its consideration of the report of the Auditor General on 23 non-compliant state corporations laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 23rd August 2023. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. We'll come back to that order when Ndindi comes in. Go to order number 7.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Order Mwashako, as we wait for that, look for your chairman. When I go to NADCO, I'll not give him an opportunity. Order number 7, statement by a member for Kigumo, Honorable Munyoro.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 44, subsection 2C, I rise to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning on the plight of border operators across the country. Honorable Speaker, the border sector has emerged as one of the key sectors driving the uptake of the buy now, pay later, BNPL models for purchase of various merchandise, including motorcycles. The model, according to industry players, has gained popularity, especially among young and low-income consumers who may not have access to traditional credit facilities. And recent reports indicate that borders and small vendors account for the largest share of the BNPL model. However, what is marketed as an accessible path to owning a motorbike and achieving financial independence has become a nightmare for hundreds of jobless youth in the country. BNPL providers lure borrowers with deceitful promises of low down payments and easy installments, yet hidden fees, exorbitant interest rates, and aggressive debt collection tactics soon reveal the true cost of the commodity. Honorable Speaker, according to border operators, the business is highly competitive and the daily proceeds cannot service weekly installments. As a result, hundreds of young people are counting losses following indiscriminate impounding of motorcycles, including those belonging to diligent owners with less than 10% outstanding loans. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning on the following. 1, could the chairperson explain the measures and mechanisms the government has put in place to regulate the activities of buy now, pay later, BNPL providers in the country, including addressing rogue lending institutions responsible for violations of consumer rights? And 2, could the chairperson explain plans the government has put in place to develop alternative financing models that are fair, transparent, and genuinely empower border operators? I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Munyoro. Is the Chair of Finance here? Vice Chair, Benja?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. We shall take the request to the committee and process it and table the statement as soon as possible.
You can bring a response in 2 weeks?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 weeks, yeah.
Next, a member for Kirinyaga County, Jen Jerry. Yes, is that DK? Why are you raising your hand?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to take this opportunity. The reason why I'm raising my hand is that because we are on statements, and there is a statement I had requested from the chair for security in terms of the events that happened in Matunda, where one lady was killed by robbers. Up to today, we have not gotten any substantial statement on the matter.
You are directed to the Committee on Security?
On security, yes.
The Committee of Tongoyo? Is Tongoyo in the House? Razo? When do you bring the response to Kimutai's request? Give Honorable Razo the mic.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I think as you said at the beginning of this session, that matter has been overtaken by
It elapsed.
It elapsed.
Yes.
But already the matter is before the Ministry of Interior, and we can still pursue because it's a security matter. So security matters should not be allowed to just go down the drain. We will request for about 2 weeks to be able to respond to the honorable member. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Russell, I'll not give you 2 weeks. This is a matter that was brought last time, and you should be asking for a day or two instead of 2 weeks.
Mr. Speaker, I am well guided.
Can you bring a response on Tuesday?
On Tuesday?
Tuesday afternoon?
Guided, Honorable Speaker.
Excellent. Is a member for Kirinyaga? Yes, Honorable Jared Okello.
Honorable Speaker, I thank you very much. Last week, Honorable Speaker, you did give a very detailed report on how to handle issues that lapsed with the session,
Yes.
Pertaining to questions and statements. But Honorable Speaker, I want to bring to your attention that towards the end of last session, there were 2 petitions that were properly debated before this House. And it did generate, both of them did generate a lot of interest from members. And this pertains to hardship allowance by Nyatike constituency and another one that I cannot remember. But we realize that this is a matter that does cut across most of the constituencies, Honorable Speaker. Whereas you may not have delved into petitions as regards lapsing of such issues, Honorable Speaker, the importance of this matter, Honorable Speaker, if you were to invoke the inherent powers of the Speaker, I would kindly request you to allow the petition committee to proceed with this matter, Honorable Speaker, so that we can come to a conclusion that will be beneficial to most members in this House, Honorable Speaker. Otherwise, reinventing the wheel may turn out to be quite untidy and may not sit well with members in this House, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Jared, if you listen to my communication properly, I never mentioned petitions. Petitions don't lapse with the end of the term. They remain alive until they are disposed of. The only issue I can mention, Honorable Nimrod Mbai. Honorable Nimrod Mbai, there is a bit of concern that there are too many petitions pending before your committee. Many of them. Some have exceeded, in fact, many have exceeded the time that is set out in the standing orders. I would want to have a meeting with you and your committee so that I can assist you to discharge your duties a little more robustly. So check with the clerk, he'll give you an appointment to come with your committee and see me.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Because petitions are time-bound.
Yes, sir.
And when you have 30, 39 petitions that are all way out of time, it is not very good. Yes, Owen?
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Just on the same note, Honorable Speaker, you see this petitions committee came into life in this parliament, 13th parliament. But in the previous parliaments, we've had petitions being dealt with at the committee, departmental committee levels, which was more effective. As we review our standing orders, Honorable Speaker, I would urge that we revert back where we have more expert opinion at the departmental level and where actually we'll be able to fast track these petitions. Otherwise, Kenyans that have sent petitions to this House are suffering. Members of Parliament who have also sent petitions to this House are suffering. I don't think Honorable Mbai and his committee are incompetent, that the work is too much for them, and the subjects are too diverse, and they may not be able to take care of them at the right time. So I urge this House that we need to look at our standing orders so that petitions go back to the committees so that we can fast-track work. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Kamket. Give Kamket the mic. There you are.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I want to add to what you mentioned. And indeed, Mr. Speaker, I am one of those people whose constituents have brought a petition here through our women rep. And that petition it's now almost 1 year down the line. So I think in line with what the Honorable Baya is saying, Mr. Speaker, I think it is time we need to review our standing orders, because I think giving all petitions to the Public Petitions Committee, I do not think they are able to handle. I think it's time to revert back to the committees. And because indeed, if ours is more than a year now, how many others are pending? So I think it is timely that we need to review and release this gentleman and the committee so that the issues affecting Kenyans can be addressed by the relevant committees. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I don't want to open debate on this. Honorable members, we cannot change our standing orders to address issues of efficiency. I don't think that is the right way to go. I have asked the Honorable Mbai, and I'll direct the majority leader that the clerk will give you an opportunity to come with the petitions committee to see me so that we can address any difficulties they have in processing petitions. The reason this committee was set up was to offload the bulk of work from committees to give them time to do their work. Because committees, I'm told, were spending inordinately large amounts of time on petitions against their core business. What we need to do is to inject more energy and vigor in the petitions committee headed by the Honorable Nimrod, and we will assist them to do so. We cannot change the law because we are not moving fast enough. Yes, Junet.
Honorable Speaker, we stand as you directed. But Mr. Speaker, the matter is more holistic. Mr. Speaker, if you look at statements or even statements, there are many statements that have not been replied to. Mr. Speaker, if you take a case like what Honorable DK has just raised, somebody has lost his life or her life, and a year down the line, there is no response to that death. Mr. Speaker, it looks like the people who are responsible to give the explanations, that's the executive, are not taking this matter very serious, Mr. Speaker. That this response, this is the only place they can be held accountable, Mr. Speaker. And our mandate as Parliament is very clear. Legislation, oversight, and representation, Mr. Speaker. There is no any other organ that can oversight the executive, Mr. Speaker. So when we are asking for these questions, it is not a favor they are doing. It is a constitutional mandate that they are supposed to execute, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, we need to enforce it properly. I know my colleagues are from retreat, but don't feel like you are government. You are members of Parliament. We have to oversight the executive. You can just take Mandasi there and thank them for meeting them. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Ndindi Nyoro, we'll go back to order number 6. Did I see Ndindi? Yes. You go back to order number 6. In fact, order number 5. Lay the report on the table and go to order number 6 and give you a notice of motion.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I wish to lay the following papers before the House: the report of the Mediation Committee on the County Government's Additional Allocation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 23 of 2023.
Now go ahead with the notice of motion.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give the notice of the following motion, that pursuant to the provisions of Article 1132 of the Constitution and Standing Order 153, that this House adopts the report of the Mediation Committee on the County Government's Additional Allocation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 23 of 2023, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 20th February 2024, and approves the mediated version of the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, that is National Assembly Bill number 23 of 2023. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Ndindi. Yes, what's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, the chair budget is purporting to have laid a paper, and I'm only seeing him with one sheet of paper. So where is the paper that he laid? He laid it on his desk.
Chairman, have you laid the paper on the table? Yeah?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Yes. As you are aware, the papers are already laid.
We go back to order number 7. I saw Kasheri walk in. Member for Kirinyaga. Jerry, you are late. I've called you twice.
My apologies, Honorable Speaker. I had paid a courtesy call to the office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, and my senior here is trying to distract me. Honorable Speaker, I rise, I rise to request...
Conga, you shall not distract Jerry. Go ahead.
Honorable Speaker, I rise to request for a statement regarding the death of the 23 persons after consuming illicit brew in Kirinyaga County. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44-2C, I rise to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security regarding the death of 23 persons after consuming illicit brew in Kangai Village, Kirinyaga County. Honorable Speaker, over the years, the country has witnessed various incidences where people lose their lives after consuming illicit and adulterated alcoholic drinks. The most recent occurrence happened in Kangai Village in Kirinyaga County on 6th of February 2024, where 23 persons died while several others lost their sight after consuming illicit alcohol suspected to have expired and with a high concentration of ethanol. It is feared that the death toll may rise since conditions of victims who are receiving treatment has been deteriorating. Honorable Speaker, there has been an escalation of trade in illicit and adulterated liquor, proliferation of counterfeit alcoholic brands, mushrooming of liquor outlets operating without proper licensing, increase in underage drinking, and the rise in deaths attributable to illicit liquor in the country. The situation calls for strict implementation of the regulatory framework on alcoholic promotions, licensing, and treatment and rehabilitation of addicts as provided for under the Alcoholic Drinks Control Act 2010 in order to mitigate the adverse effects of illicit brews. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security on the following. Could the chairperson provide a report regarding the status of investigations into deaths of the victims of the illicit brew in Kangai Village, Kirinyaga County in February 2024? Could the chairperson provide information on whether the owners of the outlets from where the brew was obtained have been apprehended and prosecuted? And could the chairperson explain the measures the government has put in place to ensure strict compliance with Alcoholic Drinks Control Act 2010 and effective implementation of alcohol control policies in regions mostly affected by consumption of illicit brews. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Njeri. Tongoyo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the issue of the statement, I will ask for 2 weeks to get a response from the ministry. But, Mr. Speaker, I want just to say one thing.
I will not give you 2 weeks.
Sorry?
I will not give you 2 weeks. I'll give you 1 week. 23 lives lost.
Well guided, Mr. Speaker.
You should be having facts with you within the shortest time possible.
Well guided, Speaker. But I want just to say one thing, Mr. Speaker. Actually, the issue of these menace of alcohol and killing Kenyans is becoming an issue that should concern all of us, Mr. Speaker. The issue, as much as we want to say is the issue of the ministry and the police, we all know the issue of the licensing of illicit, of these brews is a function of the county. And it's an issue that we must actually start conversation, Mr. Speaker. No, just let me finish. What I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, we have a big problem that we must, as a House, start looking our laws, because the Constitution, the 2010 Constitution, referred the function of licensing to the counties. And that is what probably is giving our officers even a hard time to enforce such kind of So it's an issue that a conversation that we should start as this House, Mr. Speaker. But 1 week obliged, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I listened to the chair carefully, Mr. Speaker, and he's saying that the licensing of bars is a function of county government. But, Mr. Speaker, county governments license bars. They don't license illicit brews. They don't license changa. They don't license. This is an issue of enforcement of the law, Mr. Speaker, and it squarely lies with the Ministry of Interior and Provincial Administration, Mr. Speaker. And as you directed, let the chairman produce an answer in 1 week, Mr. Speaker. Let us not scapegoat that this county, it is an issue of enforcement of the law, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Rendikiri. Order, honorable members, the conversations are too loud.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think the chairman of security is out of order, because this is death we are talking about. And the brew they took came from the police station, which is within his mandate. And that's what the Honorable Women Rep of Kirinyaga is talking about. So you cannot now run away from his responsibility. Let him go get down to the business and give us the correct content. He should not divert our attention.
Thank you. Majority Leader, I'll give you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I am constrained but to agree with the member for Buri and the Honorable Junet that indeed there is absolutely nothing wrong with counties licensing bars. This particular incident in Kirinyaga, Honorable Speaker, and maybe the chair is not aware, already officers, police officers, have been arrested and charged in court because they stole exhibits that were being stored in a police station and sold them to the person now who sold this alcohol to people in a bar. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, the problem is not just a problem that we can point at the county governments in terms of licensing of bars. It begins with law enforcement by the police. And Honorable Speaker, the chair, as a person oversighting the police, must be emphatic in ensuring that his committee summons the Inspector General of Police to say what they are going to do to ensure that the police indeed do their work in enforcing the law as it is. Secondly, and more importantly, Honorable Speaker, I am hoping that the chair, other than pointing fingers, will take this opportunity through the committee in charge of Interior to now draft a national government level legislation touching on the licensing of manufacturers of alcohol, because that will not be left to the county government. It is up to us, and that is what I would have wanted to hear the chair speak to, that his committee now will draft legislation that will regulate. How do you even regulate the movement of ethanol and methanol in this country? Because, Honorable Speaker, what we are calling illicit brews are not illicit brews. It is simply ethanol and methanol being mixed with water and being sold to people as alcohol. And that is what our committee in charge of Interior should be working on, legislation that will ensure that we regulate who sells ethanol, how is it sold. Because, Honorable Speaker, the sale of ethanol is one of the most lucrative illicit trade. The road between Namanga and Nairobi, Honorable Speaker, the entire corridor is a scene of crime. And the chair should know, from the Namanga border to Nairobi is an entire scene of crime. Every other truck, I hear even Isabania in Migori, every truck that you find on that road is carrying ethanol in drums. This ethanol is disguised with onions and tomatoes. And the police know, Honorable Speaker, if you want to be the OCPD Kajiado today, you have to know people in Vigilance House here to be deployed in Kajiado, because it is the most lucrative place to be in because of this illicit trade. Therefore, the chair should not be taking us in the scapegoating of this county government and that county government. We must deal with the problem where it is. The problem is with the police, enforcement of law, and also this House has an obligation through the committee to make sure that we have legislation that regulates the sale of ethanol and methanol. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Oundo.
Thank you, Speaker. Let me also take this opportunity to sympathize with the lost souls because of consuming illicit brew. Honorable Speaker, there is danger of branding some local brews to become illicit brew simply because people have lost lives in other places. Honorable Speaker, yes, the licensing of bars is the mandate of the county government, but beyond that, the enforcement, the production and the rest, square lies to the Ministry of Health and the relevant ministry in the national security organs. Honorable Speaker, in where I come from, we have a very local gin, very pure local gin, Honorable Speaker, manufactured in very hygienic conditions, and we have never had any challenges.
Honorable Oundo, what you are calling gin is in fact an outlawed drink called changa.
No, Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
It's not called changa.
Yes.
We call it enguri, Honorable Speaker. And it's a very clear and clean gin.
Go and read the definition of changa in the Changa Prohibition Act.
And Honorable Speaker, if you go to my constituency, we have no shortage of kids. We have no shortage of pregnant women. So honestly, Speaker, we do not want the mess that has happened in central Kenya to be applied blanket application the entire country to eliminate our national pastime in our community. Honorable Speaker, let regions deal with their problems as they arise and not have a national condemnation of local brews. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Order, Honorable Oundo, for avoidance of doubt. Under the Changa Prohibition Act, Changa is described as Enguli, Machwara, Machozi ya Simba, Kill Me Quick, or any other spirituous liquor, howsoever described. So it is not a local brew that is defendable. Yes, Mukunji will be the last on this. Yes, there's a point of order, Mkunji. Let me hear Raso first. Raso, is it a point of order or you want to make a contribution? Pardon? Mkunji, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I just want to thank Honorable Jerry Kirinyaga County for this important statement. And I want to say, Honorable Speaker, if this National Assembly cannot act when 23 lives have been lost, Honorable Speaker, I don't think there is any other important time to act on this issue. Honorable Speaker, I want to agree with the majority leader that police officers are part and parcel of the thriving ethanol trade. And Honorable Speaker, it has gotten to a point where we really have to call it to order, Honorable Speaker. I want to see, Honorable Speaker, a stoppage of importation of ethanol until, Honorable Speaker, we know who are doing this work and are they even paying taxes. And, Honorable Speaker, we have made billionaires
out of ethanol trade. And these people have become too powerful that they are able to buy the police force from top to bottom. And that is why, Honorable Speaker, we have lost lives in Kirinyaga. We might continue losing lives. And Honorable Speaker, our young people, our generation that is behind us is in serious danger if this assembly does not act. We have to put laws and ensure we don't allow populations to thrive in drunkenness. And Honorable Speaker, when you meet a drunk person, that person is actually sick and is not actually a bad person. But Honorable Speaker, we are treating the symptoms instead of treating the disease. The people who are selling poison in this country are the people that are well known, and we have to go for them without fear or anything. Because, Honorable Speaker, if we don't do that, the population behind us is going to judge us in a very, very serious way. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
We'll end there on this. Oraso, I had promised to give you 1 minute. I'll give you 1 minute, Dawood 1 minute, and Mudoni 1 minute.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I support the statement that is being sought by Honorable Njeri. Those are fundamental issues. I believe even the chairman is not contradicting that a response must be robust on this particular issue. But what the chairman is saying, the issue at stake is the law. There are those who are enforcing, but the law is mandating the counties to actually collect money. The counties are interested in collecting money, but they are not at any point.
Honorable Rasso, the point that the majority leader, Junet, and others have raised is very simple. Counties license bars. They don't license places for homicides. When homicides are committed, it becomes a matter of the police. And that's why, Honorable Tongoyo, you must call your troops to order. No excuses. There is no county government in this country that licenses anybody to kill another. Yes, Dawood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if you remember, we did a cleanup in Mount Kenya for alcohol in 2015. Mr. Speaker, the problem is not just licensing. Mr. Speaker, the factories which produce those third-generation liquor need to be closed immediately, because that is where the problem is. Mr. Speaker, we closed the wine shops in Meru. They went to the court and got an order to open again. Mr. Speaker, we need to approach this thing in a three-pronged manner where courts do not interfere with whatever is being done, and stopping the factories operating. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Your neighbor. Mudoni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to laud the woman rep Kirinyaga, Honorable Njeri, for bringing this very fundamental issue. Honorable Speaker, we are here discussing about loss of life. And Honorable Speaker, this is a matter that this House should take seriously, because as you have alluded to, licensing and homicide are two different things. We want to call upon the Ministry of Interior to give us a straightforward way of how they are intending to deal with this menace, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. We'll close there. Honorable Tongoyo.
So, Speaker, I just want to first appreciate and really able to also say that it is really very unfortunate, the life lost. It's a very sad story that such a time we still lost such a number of lives of young, productive Kenyans through taking over toxin products. Mr. Speaker, I agree with all these members that there is a need to look into the whole structure, even of our police enforcement. But in this particular case, Mr. Speaker, I'd taken your guidance. We are going to communicate to get our response in record short time.
On Tuesday.
On Tuesday. But what Mr. Speaker was saying, and I think the leader of majority actually got it very proper. We have the pieces of legislation and laws that we can able to look from our end to include licensing of course, of production, export and import, but at the same time, we should extend the same to tighten our laws and actually our policies even in the licensing from the counties, and even a possibility of reverting some of the function to NACADA for proper management of licensing of these liquors, Mr. Speaker. That is exactly what I was saying, but once again, I want to apologize, to say sorry and pass my condolences to the life lost. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next order. Oh, yes. Before we call the next order, honorable members, allow me to introduce the following schools in the public and speakers gallery. Iku Girls Secondary School from Chuka, Gambangombe, Tharaka-Nithi, and Matungulu Girls Secondary School from Matungulu, Machakos. On my behalf and on behalf of the whole House, we welcome the students and their teachers to the House of Parliament. Honorable Mule has asked me to allow him to acknowledge the school from his constituency. Do it on behalf of the whole House for the two schools in 1 minute.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I want to welcome Matungulu girls who topped up the Form 4 class of last year in the entire Machakos County. Congratulations, girls. We are so proud of you from Machakos, and we are going to continue to promote education in the constituency. Mr. Speaker, I want to say the future of this nation lies in this House, whereby all members of Parliament support the young boys and girls in their constituency through CDF. And I want to urge the leadership to ask Professor Ndungu of Treasury to release the entire money for CDF to make sure that we keep these girls in schools. Things are very tough. We wish you all the best, and we are so proud of you, Matungulu girls, for topping up in Machakos County, and you are blessed to be in the House. Welcome. And Iku girls, we also welcome you in the House, and we are so proud of you. And Mr. Speaker, there is a joke going around that the girl child is being favored. We want to urge members also look at the boy child. God bless you. God bless Kenya.
Thank you. Honorable Ndindi Nyoro.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move the following motion, that notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 232.7 relating to presentation of the budget policy statement, that this House resolves to extend the period for the consideration of the budget policy statement 2024 by a period of 14 days.
Order, Honorable Ndindi Nyoro. That what you are trying to do will be on the order paper for tomorrow. I gave you an opportunity to give a progress report on the time-bound PBS hearings that are going on.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for that guidance. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you for this chance because it is very important that I bring to the attention of this House that one of our critical roles in this House is budget making. And Honorable Speaker, it is usually a lengthy process. Possibly most of us even before actually thought that this is a process that starts in June. But Honorable Speaker, just to bring it in a very short, in very few minutes to members, the process starts actually the previous calendar year. For example, in this financial year, the process of budget making started last year in November when we had a public participation and formation of the sector working groups. Honorable Speaker, after the sector working groups, then we are now in the process of setting the ceilings for all the departments and especially the sectors that constitutes our economy, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, just to bring up to the members, to bring members to speed, currently as we talk, as we meet here today, we have already started the process of departmental committees meeting their various accounting officers, Honorable Speaker. And that is the reason why even the PSs who are previously engaged in other engagements, and especially the PG in Naivasha, have been recalled to Nairobi, Honorable Speaker, so that they continue meeting the departmental committees. Honorable Speaker, the process of consideration of BPS is time-bound and the time is statutory. And Honorable Speaker, there cannot be a lot of negotiations around that time. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, mine is just to thank all the departmental chairs and to request them that we kindly stick to the dates that have been provided, that we meet our principal secretaries today, those who are meeting them today, others are meeting them tomorrow, but to make a humble request that we conclude the hearings from the principal secretaries by this Saturday, so that, Honorable Speaker, we are able to be in time and we are able to process the budget policy statement within the statutory timeline. Honorable Speaker, I thank you. I thank all the members who belong to other departmental committees, and I request them kindly that we stick to the timelines of today, tomorrow, and up to Friday that have been provided for meeting the principal secretaries, so that we keep ourselves within the statutory time. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Ndindi. We can go to order number 8. Yes, Honorable Nyikal.
Mr. Speaker, thank you, Mr. Speaker. As we go to order number 8, Mr. Speaker, I rise to seek your guidance on the issue of tabling and contents of
the issue of?
Mr. Speaker, as we go to order number 8, I rise to seek your guidance on the issue of tabling and contents of committee reports in regard to bills. Mr. Speaker, although what I'm saying arises from my observation on the bill we're discussing now, I think it's an issue that we should address as a House. To begin with, Mr. Speaker, we tend to get reports very late, and so that often members actually do not get time to benefit from what the committees have worked on and even the stakeholder issues they have raised. And two, Mr. Speaker, most of the reports that I've seen that relate to bills normally they are done in a very clear fashion. You have the stakeholder meetings, they are reported as verbatim as there, but then you will have a schedule of observations, a schedule of recommendations, and in the case of a bill, Mr. Speaker, a schedule of amendments. It therefore makes it very easy for members not to go through all the details of the stakeholder discussions, but to focus on this and make quick decisions. That was missing in this particular report, and Mr. Speaker, you have to go through all the reports of the discussions, and then you get observations on a particular group and the committee observations, and in the end, we did not get good clearance. Mr. Speaker, why I raised those two issues of the time of tabling and the content, Mr. Speaker, when you have very important bills such as this one, it is the committee work that guides what the members' discussion. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, we may have to even go into our rules and procedure rules in the House and actually go back and say we cannot have bills discussed before the committee gives a report and give a time, for example, 2 days before the discussion starts. and maybe in exceptional cases, with the leave of the Speaker, we can do that. Mr. Speaker, I thought I would raise this because I'm finding that the use of the committee reports is actually being eroded. And therefore, I think that is a very, very important bit of legislation at the committee stage, Mr. Speaker. I thought I would raise this. I've noted it in this, but I've noted it before. But this is a particularly important bill that should have gotten all the attention that we required and all the guidance from the committee. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Nyikal, I think you are suffering from being absent in the House. The matter you are raising was very ably raised by your chief whip when this bill was being called for second reading. And his complaint was that the report had been just laid and members needed time to read through. By now, I'm sure members have read the report. What is even more important is that the report and the content is more useful at the committee of the whole. That's when you can make changes to the bill arising out of the committee recommendations. That's when you can file your amendments if you wish. But I get your point, and the clerk will address some of the issues you have raised. Let's call order number 8. Yes, Honorable Junet. On the same issue?
Mr. Speaker, on budget policy statement.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, the budget policy statement issue has been explained here by the chairman. I want the majority leader to give me an ear, Mr. Speaker, through you. Mr. Speaker, the budget policy statement is one of the most important documents in the budget making process in this House, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, it was supposed to be laid here by 15th of February, Mr. Speaker, and we are already late by 5 days. Today is 20th, Mr. Speaker. It was late, but we have lost time. Mr. Speaker, I'm of the view that going forward, it is either we change our standing orders so that it can be committed to relevant committees when we are away, or we change the Public Finance Management Act so that the timelines can be increased from 14 days to 21 days, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is the document that informs how our budget will look like in the next financial year, Mr. Speaker. And I know members are asking, are we implementing it? But this is the framework. This is the document that every member must take very, very serious, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to urge through the majority leader that bring an amendment to the Finance Act so that we can increase the timeline. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Junet, again, what you are complaining about has actually been cured. The standing order says it has to be laid by 15th. It was laid on the 15th. And it has to take 14 days. Ndindi Nyoro has asked that we extend by 7 days to 21 days. So your worries are taken care of. Next order.
Order number 8, the Affordable Housing Bill, National Assembly Bill number 75 of 2023, second reading.
Honorable Mbandi, you're on the floor, but there's a point of order by Chepkonga. Hold your horses. Order.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I raise pursuant to Standing Order number 95 as read together with Standing Order number 83. But, Mr. Speaker, before I raise that point of order, I thought my very good friend, the Honorable Musa Sirma, who is the chair of CDF, had very important information to communicate to this House, particularly when the Honorable Stephen Mule was welcoming his students. We thought that the students will go back home knowing that CDF has been released.
Can you raise your point of order in relation to order number 8?
No, I was just trying to eliminate.
And Honorable Sirma, you don't have to stand up simply because your name was mentioned. Go ahead.
You want
no, Chepkonga.
Yes, go ahead.
Raise your point of order.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Moses Sirma, take your seat.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. He needs to take a cue to raise a point of order himself. Mr. Speaker, this matter has been ably canvassed in this House. And Mr. Speaker, without anticipating debate in the next standing order, in the next debate, Mr. Speaker, which is extremely very important, it has exercised the minds of Kenyans.
What is your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, my point of order, would I be in order in accordance with standing order number 95, as read together with 83, that the Speaker be called upon to reply, not the mover be called upon to reply, because this matter has already been spent, Mr. Speaker. In fact, when issues were discussed the last time, what I wanted to discuss, Mr. Speaker, was also being discussed by another member. So I thought I became redundant. So I thought it is important that the mover be called upon to reply so that we can move to the most important debate, which is disturbing Kenyans, and we need to sort out this before Baba is appointed as the chairman of AU. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Before I exercise that discretion, I'll allow Honorable Mbandi, who is a ranking member of this House, to exhaust his time.
Mr.
You have
Speaker.
a point of order, Honorable Otienda Molo? Order,
Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Chepkonga is a ranking member and is my friend, and in recent times we've been co-chairing a very important subcommittee on CDF. But Mr. Speaker, when he stands on Standing Order 95 to persuade you to exercise your discretion, knowing that on the day the debate on this matter started, I and him were busy representing this House in another important matter, and I, among others, have not had the opportunity to say a bit. He is not only misleading, he is being unfair to the rest of us. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge you not to accept that invite. This is a very important matter, Mr. Speaker, as you know, that has invited interpretation by the court. As a House, we got it wrong the first time. It is important to get it right the second time without rushing. I submit, Mr. Speaker, and I was the first in this House this afternoon waiting to speak to this matter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Mbadi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think I had 3 minutes left to make my contribution. And Mr. Speaker, there's something that worries me with this bill. Looking at clause number 4, and a few members have spoken to it. In an effort for the government or the executive to beat, or rather to correct, what was said in court, they are creating a bigger problem to the people of Kenya. And Mr. Speaker, if you look at clause 4, where the levy is being levied or imposed, then it says that there is imposed a levy known as the Affordable Housing Levy, and that the levy shall be at the rate of 1.5% of the gross salary of an employee, or the gross income of a person received or accrued, which is not subject to the levy under paragraph A. Mr. Speaker, we are exposing Kenyans now, including even Mama Mboga in the streets, who are promised that this levy will only affect those who are salaried and who have a pay slip, to unnecessary harassment by Kenya Revenue Authority. Mr. Speaker, to impose this levy on people who don't have salary is going to be a nightmare. And what we are doing, in short, is to allow the Kenya Revenue Authority officers to now be snooping and harassing Kenyans, including even farmers, Mr. Speaker. Because what this particular provision means, in short, is that if you go to your farm, get your maize, and you sell it, you are supposed to be taxed, or a levy is supposed to be imposed on the produce that you get from your shamba. Gross of it, not even removing the cost of producing maize. This is punitive, and this is one of the worst legislations that can ever be passed in a house like this. Mr. Speaker, unless there is going to be an amendment to remove this or to make it implementable, Mr. Speaker, this particular provision should not be allowed to stand. Mr. Speaker, I don't want to go any further. I can see the leader of majorities gesturing, I don't know for what. But Mr. Speaker, I've just mentioned that...
Order, honorable members, order. Order, double N. Order. Is that Ngeleche or double N? The exuberance and loud conversations are disrupting even the speaker to hear what the member on the floor is saying.
Mr. Speaker, what I was saying was very important, so I may need to repeat it. Mr. Speaker, the provision under Clause 4 is very, very, very dangerous. And I would urge that this matter is looked into, because now, Mr. Speaker, those farmers in the village who, after producing their crops, sell their produce, will be required to surrender 1.5% of the gross produce to this housing levy. Mr. Speaker, this is punitive. This is going to lead to unnecessary harassment of ordinary Kenyans by Kenya Revenue Authority. And I can see Leader of Majorities is laughing. He actually said when he was moving this motion that they are very happy because government is going to receive more money. But why should you be happy when the same hustlers are suffering, Mr. Speaker, just because you are getting more money to do things that are not so clear, like housing, providing houses to people who we don't even know. Mr. Speaker, this is something that needs to really be looked into and removed from this law, even though the judiciary mentioned about discrimination. There should be a better way, a more
Honorable members, I have been moved to call the mover to reply, but I'll give Honorable Otienda Amolo and one other member this side, then I call the mover to reply. Otienda Amolo? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, this issue has various facets, but the first, which is of note, is the aspect that it increases the tax burden on Kenyans by a good 3%. And while most people are already familiar with the 3%, what they are not familiar with is the penalty that is also prescribed, that if you do not remit that 3% within 30 days, there's an additional penalty of another 3%. So that in any 1 month, you are in danger of having to pay 6%, which can actually be recovered by court action. Secondly, and this bears repetition, it must be borne in mind that as national government is endeavoring to do all this, Schedule 4, Clause 18, and Schedule Part 1 and Part 2 makes it very clear that no matter how well-intentioned the government may be, housing still remains a county function, function. And the only thing given to national government is the policy. This bill is not prescribing policy, it's prescribing the way of doing it. That will remain unconstitutional no matter how you couch it. Thirdly, Mr. Speaker, in terms of counties, this bill is very strange. It comes under the hand of the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, and it purports in the purposes that it has nothing to do with counties. And yet, first of all, in the very face of the bill, Mr. Speaker, if you look at the bill, Clause 10, 2C, Clause 12, 3B1, both of them actually expressly mention the county. Besides, in their rendering of explanation, we have been told that actually they are getting land that is right now held by the counties. You cannot get land from the counties and say the bill does not concern counties, by definition and by law. It means, by whatever formulation, the bill must also involve the Senate, and it must also involve discussion with the county governments. Mr. Speaker, the question of land is not clear. This bill proceeds as if these units will be built in the air. There is no attempt to talk about land acquisition at all. In fact, more importantly, under the Constitution, whether it's land held on behalf of the county or on behalf of the national government, it is only the National Land Commission that is authorized to allocate that land. The bill does not even recognize the National Land Commission, and I've seen the submission by the commission itself. It was persuading the committee to have provisions on the process of land acquisition. Otherwise, you'll end up putting public money in land that is not even owned by the public. Mr. Speaker, this bill, in a very serious manner, makes several aspects that are very unclear. First, in terms of ownership. It does not make it clear whether we are talking of affordable ownership of houses or affordable rental of houses. It is totally confused. And if you look at Section 10 and 37 as read together, it's only talking about then paying a percentage of whatever, 10% actually, of whatever is deemed to be the worth of the unit. It doesn't say whether it's 10% represent the purchase price or the rental price. This bill again, Mr. Speaker, in trying to talk of administration, it becomes very confusing. In Section 11, the money is supposed to be divided three ways. Part of it is divided to the National Housing Corporation, another part to the slum upgrading program, and the third part to the State Department responsible for housing in Section 11. It then seeks to assume later in the bill that it is only the State Department and the board that is created that is administering the fund. The truth is, once you allocate land to the National Housing Corporation, to the slum upgrading fund, you have no means under the bill of then superintending it. It means that only 1/3 of the money allocated under this bill will be superintended by the board that is created. Mr. Speaker, in all fairness, the bill then does something very, very dangerous in Section 2A. And Mr. Speaker, we all know that the collector of taxes is the Kenya Revenue Authority. But this Section 2A then authorizes any other person appointed by the Cabinet Secretary for the time being responsible for National Treasury for the purposes of collection of funds under this Act. We are enabling an entity who is not even said to be a government entity to collect government taxes. We must be the only country that can do such a thing. And besides, you know that later on, 2% of the monies allocated are then allowed to be retained by this actor. Who is this person that we are giving the possibility of collecting monies that belong to Kenyans under this fund? Mr. Speaker, I wish to submit that however well-intentioned, this bill still requires a lot of proper analysis and engagement, not at the level of drafting, but at the idea level. It is still premature, it has not been well cooked, it is being rushed, it will end up being in problems. I so submit, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
I'll give Kimani, then we can call the mover to reply.
Thank you, Mr.
You are giving the microphone to a member I have not called out.
Thank you.
Yes, Kimani.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We appreciate the debate that you've held this afternoon and the views held by, among others, the Honorable Atendi Amolo. And tomorrow, during the Committee of the Whole House, the Joint Committees of Finance and National Planning and that of Housing, Public Works and Urban Development will be putting across several amendments so that we align the fears that members of this Honorable House has raised. But a few of the first things that I would like to reply to is one, the issue or the question of the ownership of land and the transfer of these houses or where these houses are built on public land and how they are transferred from public land to private land. One of the amendments we'll be moving tomorrow is an amendment to the Lands Act, is a provision that all the transfer of land from public to private will have to follow the Land Act, Honorable Speaker. The issue about penalties in terms of the times when these levies are levied to the relevant authority, we will also be promoting an amendment so that they're in line with the Tax Procedures Act, so that the fines and the penalties that shall accrue as a result of late disbursement of these funds will follow the rest of the taxes as proposed by the as enshrined in the Tax Procedures Act. Honorable Speaker, one of the key amendments that we've done is we've created the fund. And now this fund, instead of trying to reinvent the wheel and them trying to implement these affordable housing programs, the bill proposes to use existing structures of governance, including county governments, including the National Housing Corporation, including the State Department in charge of housing, and other private entities that could be involved in the issue of affordable housing. So the monies are collected as a levy by KRA, they're taken into the fund, and then it is a fund that disburses these monies to the respective agencies. The agencies will implement the housing programs, and once the houses are complete, they are going to be transferred to the fund. And now it is now the fund that is going to distribute these houses to Kenyans, Honorable Speaker. The issue about whether to buy or rent has also been addressed in the amendments that will be moving tomorrow, that now provides that this affordable housing will be available for whether you want to buy or rent, Honorable Speaker. The issue of the 10% deposit, again proposed as a bill, is one of the things that we propose to delete tomorrow during the committee of the whole House, because we listened to Kenyans and they said that 10% proposed deposit is too punitive and might not be affordable to the majority of hustlers that want to get involved in this program, Honorable Speaker. Lastly, there was a fear that these houses will be taken by the rich at the expense of the people that should benefit from this affordable housing. And therefore, we'll also be proposing to have one ID, one KRA PIN, one house, so that we do not have people taking advantage of this particular program and going to invest in them at the expense of the hustlers that are benefiting from this program, Honorable Speaker. We have also clearly defined what an affordable house, and most importantly, Honorable Speaker, one of the things that came out of the public hearings is a need for institutional housing. We have a majority of the civil servants who are majority of the contributors to this kitty, like the police, like the teachers, like KDF, like lecturers, like even student accommodation, that now we are proposing to include an additional amendment to have affordable housing, including institutional housing, so that our students, for example, Honorable Speaker, the Technical University of Nairobi has a population of almost 20,000 students, but the number of hostels they have as an institution is less than 500. And this means that we have had mushrooming of slums around universities. If you go to Kenyatta University, the students there live in KM. If you go to the University of Nairobi, there is a slum around all our institutions of higher learning. And therefore, the bill will propose to have a particular provision and a particular percentage going to institutional housing, especially targeting our civil servants, our teachers, our police officers, and most importantly, our students, so that the students can live near where they go to school and they can have a conducive place to learn and to acquire knowledge without having to go through slums, to be marked at night when going home, and the risk of them being, their hostels being, their rental houses being locked, and them even staying out of school, Honorable Speaker. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to support this bill, and again, tomorrow during the committee of the whole, the joint committees will be proposing an array of amendments to safeguard some of the things that our members, especially from the minority side, has raised. I beg to move, Honorable Speaker.
Order, honorable members. Order. Order, honorable members. I now put the question pursuant to the point of order raised by Honorable Chepkonga, that the mover be now called upon to reply. As members of that opinion say aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, allow me in reply to first thank all the members who have contributed. Honorable Speaker, last Thursday when this debate began, just to dissuade that fear by the Honorable Tiende Amolo that this bill is being rushed, we were here up to 7 p.m. and very many members contributed. And I sat here pensively listening to all the contributions by the members. Honorable Speaker, I remember the Honorable Engineer Mwengi, who was asking, how will a person earning 20,000 shillings afford to save to buy a house of 2.5 million shillings? Honorable Speaker, the straight answer is in the bill. I'm certain the Honorable Engineer may not have read the bill. Under Clause 2 of the bill on social housing, the bill is quite explicit that the social housing units will be houses for people, targeting people whose monthly income is below 20,000 shillings. The same questions I had the leader of minority asking, how will Mama Mboga, how will a boda rider afford to buy a house? It is these people who are being targeted with the social housing. The Honorable Tiende Omolo, who has just contributed this afternoon, is asking the same pertinent questions. Is this bill about affordable housing, ownership of housing, or is it about affordable rentals? And the straight answer again, it is about affordable ownership of houses. People, new home owners, millions of new home owners will be created out of this bill, Honorable Speaker, and not just rentals. And I know, Honorable Speaker, those who have been opposing this bill, a number of them are those who have vested interests in rental units in this country who fear that affordable ownership of houses by Kenyans might in a way jeopardize their rental units. But I want to assure even landlords like myself, and Honorable Speaker, I am a landlord myself, just like many of us here, including the Honorable Junet. We are not threatened in any way by this bill. The housing gap in this country is so huge, Honorable Speaker, that we do not need to fear that anybody will be threatened.
Okello, what is out of order?
I thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Majority Leader understands that all of us here in this House know how to read. And Honorable Speaker, firstly, it says the Affordable Housing Bill 2023. And if we go to
what is out of order?
The heading. Honorable Speaker, I want this clear. If we go to the heading, it talks about a framework for access to affordable housing. There is no indication of ownership here, Honorable Speaker. And that is the confusion that we are going through. Are we talking about affordable rentals, which could as well be part of this, or affordable ownership of a house? Honorable Speaker, ownership is not here.
Order, Honorable Okello.
Unless we are going to make more amendments.
Order, Honorable Okello, you are debating. You are not raising a point of order.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. You know, Honorable Speaker, reading English and interpretation of what is written in English are two different things. Honorable Speaker, moving on, the Honorable Oudo, in his submission, again was asking how will Chang'aa brewers, or rather he asked that many of his, many constituents who are Chang'aa brewers, and posed the question that what mechanism will be there to collect this money, and I think it's the same question that the Honorable Opio Wandai was asking, what mechanism will be there to collect this money as directed by the court. And Honorable Speaker, it is indeed true, as the Honorable Tiende Omolo has submitted, that it is the courts that said we are not levying this tax to a certain section of Kenyans. And therefore, in curing that problem that the court pointed out, then a provision was created for us to use the Tax Procedures Act, as has been clearly stipulated by the chair of the Finance Committee, to collect from every Kenyan who is earning an income. And Honorable Speaker, whether you are a farmer, whether you are a Chang'aa brewer, and maybe to Honorable Udo, it is brewers, not Chang'aa brewers, because Chang'aa brewing is an illegitimate trade that I don't know whether there is a way of collecting taxes from a legitimate trade. But for any...